Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. This is part 3 of the e-waste marathon processing series that I was going to do in one video, and we've got 2 half-hour episodes so far. We might get it finished in this one. We'll see how we go. Let's have a look on the deck and see how much there is to process. There's still a bit of a pile, but not as daunting as it was. We have one milk crate with some random stuff in it, some gardening, all electrical gardening tools, a couple of chainsaws, a couple of blowers, 3 PCs, and some power tools in the cases. They're probably old rechargeable drills or something, cordless drills. So it shouldn't take us long to get through it. I think we're going to get a bit of value out of the garden stuff. We might scrap out the PCs. I'm not sure if there's going to be any value in those. I'm not actually sure what's in the crate. So let's get through as much as we can in this episode. Here's the facts and figures from episode 2, and I've added episode 1 here. So that's our total time spent, which is 220 minutes. What's that? 3 hours and 40. Oh, I've already written it there. I forgot I did that. And our total return based on estimated sale prices, and a lot of it's fairly cheap. And I've had some comments from you guys to say, you know, you could get more for it than $5 or something. Well, I'm keen to turn it over quickly. Cheap price sort of ensures that it sells quick, doesn't sit around the shop for long. And it also makes this whole exercise a bit relatable to you guys. If you haven't got a shop and you could sell stuff at a garage sale or a market stall, you know, these bicycle lift things you get $5 for. Things that there's not many prices here that are really expensive retail prices. They're all about pretty much a fire sale, but it's much better value than scrap. So $270 potential return from 3 hours and 40 minutes. We're still doing pretty well. I think that's still just over $70 an hour for our time. I'm recording all my time, researching prices, cleaning up stuff, and we've got a heap of scrap metal, as in electrical cords and other stuff, to add to that figure, which we will do in the final video of this series. Let's get something onto the bench and process it. Let's sort this milk crate full of gadgets first, and then we've only got bigger stuff really. So what's in here? There could be some parts to other things we've had. Well, that's actually the cover from one of the chainsaw bars. Is this just electrical wiring? I think it is. Yep, they can just go in our wire bin. We're getting quite a lot of insulated copper wire. Here's another car amplifier, is it? 4-channel stereo car amplifier. Well, the last one we had a chat about, I did some research. I didn't think it was worth very much, and it's too much hassle to try and test. I'll just give this a little bit of a clean up so it doesn't look quite so grubby, and we'll put that in the shop as well for $5. Someone can take a punt, or the other option is to scrap it out, but we wouldn't get anywhere near $5 worth of scrap value, so we'll clean it up. $5. Okay, what do we got here? A set-top box or a DVD? That's a DVD player. All right, well, I can easily test that. I think we might have a remote for that one in that tin. So we'll have to check that. If it does work okay with a remote, we'd get $10 for it working. It's worth testing and giving it a bit of a wipe over. Now we have some battery packs. That one's clearly been pulled apart. That was for a Bosch. I think that was for the cordless circular saw we had. That looks like another one. So 1.7 amp hour. And the batteries won't be any good, so they'll go to recycling. There's a battery pack, 18 volts Ryobi. Did that suit something we had? I'll have to check that one. A plastic piece, I don't know what that was from. Here's a very old Ramset drill. It's quite an oldie, but you know, it's got the key for the chuck. It's quite rusty there. Old, really old style battery pack with a spring clip to hold it in. So the batteries are going to be no good on that one. I don't have a charger for it, I don't think. So that will go to battery recycling. And I don't think it's worth trying to get the electric motor out of that. They're only relatively small. There's too much plastic to sell the whole thing as an electric motor. So that can go to e-waste. Another battery pack suiting the Bosch. Well, it's a different style than these ones. Although same, not quite the same plug-in. All right, we'll check them out in case we need them. An iron, we have a Sunbeam, which were a pretty reasonable brand. It's a bit rough on the sole. So generally I don't worry about trying to sell secondhand irons unless they look near new. Yeah, What's the cord like? Being a Sunbeam, it might be worth trying to sell. We'll give it a bit of a clean up and a quick test. We'd probably get $5 for it, so that's certainly much better than scrap. The best scrap you can get out of these really is just chopping the cord off. And if you can be bothered smashing the top cover off, you can get irony aluminium for the base, but it doesn't weigh a great deal. I think we're better off trying to sell that if it works. Nothing's broken, so it might clean up okay. A torch, Ryobi torch with a battery pack. Old technology now. I don't think anyone uses the old torches with incandescent globes. They're all LEDs, much more efficient on power. This was probably the bee's knees when it was new. But again, the batteries will be had it. So battery packs I'll send to, there's a special place at the transfer station for batteries to be recycled, and the rest of that torch can just go to Ewaste. I don't know what this is. It's out of something. It's got electrical contacts on it. I don't think it suits anything we have here. Don't know. Well, we'll just put that in the e-waste. Given that there's no other crates, I don't think it suits anything we've got. And that suits a vacuum cleaner. But I don't think we had we had part of a vacuum. It was missing parts. Or maybe that was off the vacuum too. But it was still missing the main canister. We'll take the batteries out of this. I always have a good steady supply of batteries that mostly are okay out of remotes. But the vacuum remote can go with the vacuum, which was into the e-waste crates. So no good keeping that one. That's the end of that crate. Oh no, what's in here? Oh, I think that went off this water tank thing. So I don't know what a water tank was for. Might have been out of a steamer or something, but we didn't have a steamer here. Don't know. All right, I've got to test a few things, and most of the other stuff is going to e-waste. A quick test of these batteries. As I said, I get lots of batteries, and I find I never have to buy new ones because there's usually plenty in old remotes that are still fine. So just check them on the meter, and as long as we're over 1.5 volts, 1.51, that's fine. So my criteria is they must be over 1.5 or better. If they're 1.49, these are both over 1.5. Given that there's no load on them, if they're below 1.5 with no load, they're obviously on their way out. If they're over 1.5, they should at least have some life in them, certainly for remote controls and things. A brand new battery often measures 1.55 or even 1.6 on some brands. Let's check the iron now. Plug it into my appliance tester and power that up. We have a light there. It should be heating. Oh yes, it's getting warm already, so that's good. And make sure I've got a proper earth. So yep, my tester says that's fine, so it's a perfectly good iron, just needs a clean up. And now just testing this little Bush DVD player. I think it's a set-top box digital tuner as well, because I had to go into source before I could open the door. The remote works. It didn't have batteries in it though. I had to use the spare ones we just found. So that's a use for them straight up. Let's open the door. I'll put a DVD in it. And it looks like it's doing all the right things. Loading. And it looks like it's going to the movie. Very good. So a good going little DVD unit, set-top box with the remote. Just needs a bit of a wipe over. It's just a bit dusty. I think we should be able to get $20 for that. We'll just jump into the film a little bit to make sure it works all right. And we have a volume through the box as well as the TV volume. So yep, that's working pretty fine. Pause, play. Okay, and stop. I'm happy with that. Eject. Very good. Well, these are the 3 saleable items we've got out of that crate. There was quite a bit of e-waste in this one. The iron, I've upped my prices on a few things. I'm going to go $10 in the iron. I don't remember if I'd said 5 when I first picked it up or not, but I think it's worth 10, given that I'll put a safety tag on it as well. And I upped my initial thought of $10 on the DVD/set-top box. I upped it to $20 because it is the set-top box digital receiver, and has the remote, and it's nice and clean. So we'll try and get 20 for that. And I'm going to up that to 10. I think I said 5 initially. We went 5 on the other car amplifier, but this one's a 4-channel, 400 watts. I think it's a little newer. Very hard to get a value on these, because I had a look online and you can pay anything from about $30 or $40 for a brand new one, right up to about $300 or $400. So it depends on the brand and the quality. I couldn't find anything about LA Power brand. I suspect this is a fairly cheap one, and it may not even work. But I think we might try and get $10 for that, and see how we go. All right, let's get some of the bigger stuff off the deck now. Okay, let's start with these blower vacs. They're big, they're bulky, there's lots of plastic, and they're pretty hard to sell. Now these look quite well used, and unfortunately the bag on this one's all torn, and the other bag has great big holes in it. It's even worse. So as far as a vacuum cleaner goes, they're not going to be functional, because unless you want to go and buy a new bag. The mulch, I think it just vacuumed, and I don't know, it probably just pushed the leaves through a couple of plastic pieces. It really only mulches the most brittle leaves. It's a little bit of imaginative advertising there, I suspect. I've never actually used one. Let me know if you find that they do mulch very well. But even most mulching mowers, the condition has to be right, or they really don't do much of a job at all. I find it hard to believe that these will. So if we cross out the vacuum and the mulcher and just sell them as a blower, assuming the motor works, they will still work quite well as a blower, at least enough to get a few dollars for. They're worth virtually nothing for scrap metal. You've got a small electric motor, and even the cord is only about 1 foot long, so there's hardly any scrap value at all. As I said, lots of plastic, which is a real pain. But if they still work as a blower, someone might have a use for them, and I'll probably just put $5 each on them, because I certainly won't want them hanging around for very long. So they'll just both need testing to make sure they run okay and don't sound like they're about to blow a bearing, but guaranteed they won't have bearings. They'll just be bushes, made as cheaply as they can be, these things. But we'll have to throw out both the bags. Unfortunately, they're no good at all. We've probably been in the sun too long and just broken down, gone a bit rotten. Okay, so such a short cord. We've got to bring our appliance tester a bit closer. Oh, the pin's bent on the plug. That should be all right. We'll turn him on and we'll see what it sounds like. That actually sounds pretty good, and it's blowing the cobwebs on the far side of the shed, so it's putting out a fair bit of air. So that will work fine as a blower. I'm just going to wipe it over. I'm not going to present it very well at all. Just take the obvious dust off it. It's test safe. They're double insulated anyway, but it's fine on my appliance tester. Just going to put $5 on that. Hope it sells the first day. Interestingly, it's only the bottom tube that's the blower anyway. The top one is for the vacuum, I guess, to get the bulk of leaves up. So we've got a lot of bulk here for really not much, but I think someone will still use it as a blower just for $5. Now this other one is a GMC. The first one was a Zito, so they're both real budget brand units. Let's see, the bag on this one's got holes all through it. It's clearly gone rotten, so we'll take that off. And that can have to go in the bin. So probably the same deal with this one. I think the bottom thing is the blower, the top's for sucking up leaves. At least this one doesn't claim to be a mulcher. So we'll just have to check it and see if the blower works. They clean up remarkably well, actually. They look very dusty, but the old Armor All gives a really good, neat job on them. All right, we better test this first. There's no sense cleaning it because it might not work. Okay, power. okay, that's blowing air at the bottom, so I think we have to turn that around. All right, so that tests okay. It's got a bit of a vibration in it, but it still moves plenty of air, so someone will get $5 worth of use out of it. I'll just wipe the armour all over this and we'll get on to something else. They actually cleaned up very well with minimal effort. That armour all does a good job on the chalky type of plastic, so they're presentable, and I think someone will see a bargain there for $5. Even if you just use it to blow out your garage from dust or your driveway after you've mown your lawns, they're going to work for a while, and then they'll end up at the e-waste transfer station eventually anyway, but hopefully someone can get a bit more use out of them. Next on the job list probably represents the single biggest tripping hazard on my deck, so I'm pleased to get these off. This one's very long. That's going to be about 7 or 8 feet long, and it's extendable. Now, it's a Garden Line brand, which I think we're an Aldi brand, so it's a cheaper budget setup. And I think they came as a kit. So the hedge trimmer and the chainsaw and the handle with the cord and an extension. I think that's the one kit. I couldn't actually find a reference to these online, so it must go back a bit when Aldi sold these ones. This chainsaw here is exactly the same model as this one, and it's on a long pole on its own. So I think I'll sell this separately, even though this is all interchangeable. So I think we don't need to put 2 chainsaws in one kit. None of it looks like it's ever had a lot of work. It's just pretty oily, but the chains are sharp, and they've got good teeth on them. They haven't been filed down very much. I doubt they've even been sharpened, maybe once. And the bar is still got all the paint on it. Both chainsaws are like that. They're just very oily, and even the hedge trimmer doesn't really look like it's had much work at all. So the jobs it's done is probably just a little bit of trimming around one domestic garden. I mean, these things are certainly not meant for a tradesman, but I suspect this has done minimal work. It spent most of his life in the shed. What's it worth? Well, from what I can gather, I found similar kits that are corded, and they retail for around about $200 to $250. They were from other chain stores, and I guess they'd be a budget brand as well. I'm thinking we might do that kit there cleaned up for maybe 100 or maybe 80. We've got to keep it cheap enough to sell quickly, but it's going to be pretty handy for someone. And this one here, maybe 50 for this one. I think the chainsaws will be much more popular than the hedge trimmer. So that's what I'm thinking. We'll clean it up. I'm going to have to give it a bit of time to clean this up, but I reckon we'll get a pretty good return for this. It's certainly, as long as it all works, we'll have to test it. So let's do that now. Let's plug some things in. Okay, let's start with this chainsaw here. Seeing so it doesn't have a long pole on it. And we'll see what it sounds like. Wow, burst into life. That smells a bit funny. I wonder if oil's got into the motor or the brushes aren't so good. That smells like it's going to blow up. All right, I might have to give this a bit of a run for a bit longer just to see what happens. It kind of bursts into life a little bit quick, but I guess that's what electric motors do. They're either on or off, aren't they, generally? I think it's all right. Perhaps the chain was a little bit tight, and that's where the smell was coming from. Seems to work okay. It'll look a lot better when it's not so oily. It's spraying oil everywhere here now. I've got a well-oiled appliance tester. So, all right, that just needs a clean up, I guess. And look, I'll certainly give someone a money back if it plays up type guarantee. We don't give ongoing warranties, but I certainly give a you know, if it plays up or doesn't suit someone's requirements, I'll give them their money back. Happy to do that. All right, let's test the hedge trimmer. It is on a bit of an extension. All right, better not cut any cords in half. That's not working. Okay, there was an extra safety switch. You've got a switch on this handle as well as the safety one next to the trigger. So it ensures that you have two hands in the right places when it starts up. Again, that seems a bit tight, but I think it's probably because it hasn't had a lot of use. Might need a little bit of lubrication on the cutters there, but it sounds okay. All right, I'm going to try the hedge trimmer with a big extension on it now. You guys won't see the end of it. I can barely see the end of it. I'm just sitting it on another part of the bench where it won't cut any cords, hopefully. Just to make sure that the wiring contacts down the extension work. That won't work because I can't reach the other handle for the safety switch. So I'm guessing you can't actually run the hedge trimmer. Oh, yes you can. Must have a bypass on it. Okay, that's fine. I'm cutting, well, I'm not cutting anything, but it's way over the other side of the shed. So it must be a bypass on that safety switch, because obviously when you're this far away you can't get your fingers in the blade. All right, well that works okay. We'll try the short extension on the chainsaw to make sure that's going to work. So that's just the basic handle, then we have a bit of an extension handle, and we can certainly put that long tube on here as well. That's not interchangeable. Okay, I wonder if that fits the other chainsaw. Maybe there's a different mounting system here. Okay, it seems that this short extension doesn't suit the chainsaws, so it's only for the hedge trimmer. Okay, I'll just have to work out the kit, so I'll clean them all up and I'll be back to you with the list for this stuff shortly. Okay, it's another day and I've cleaned up all this stuff and I'm keen to get it out of my shed because I keep tripping over it. I've worked out what I'm going to do here. I'm selling that chainsaw, which is probably the neater one, and it's got pretty much a brand new chain. The only damage I saw is it has actually got a little bit broken off the bottom. It's just one of these little spike things and it's broken off the bottom of the housing. Hasn't caused any other damage. Everything on that one looks good otherwise, and they both run fine once I had them running for a bit. So I'm going to sell that saw with the normal extension there, so it can be used as a standard electric chainsaw with this long extension piece. And I'm going to put, I think, $45 on that. Then the other one here I'll just sell as an electric chainsaw with no extras. Again, it's got pretty much a new bar. The chain is nice and sharp, and it's probably only been sharpened once or twice. And I'm going to maybe sell it for $30. And I think they'll sell quickly, given that these are Oregon chainsaw bars, which aren't cheap. And the chain I think is probably Oregon chain too. And if you went to buy a small bar, probably a 12-inch bar I think it is, and a new chain for your normal chainsaw, this size, this brand, it would probably cost you $50. So there's some value here for someone. Even if the motors sound a bit rough and blow up after a while, you've still got a good bar and chain, which is interchangeable with other chainsaws. But I expect these things will work fine for domestic use. You certainly wouldn't go out wood cutting with them. They're only for pruning branches in the garden. Green wood cuts very easily, so it's not a lot of load on it. So I think they'll sell pretty quickly at that. And that leaves our hedge trimmer kit with the normal handle, which is quite a long setup anyway, and the extension boom. And I think I'm just going to put $30 on that. I don't think hedge trimmers are going to be as widely desired as chainsaws, but there could be people around that would put it to use. So again, it's got plenty of life in it, only for domestic use. $30 we should be able to get fairly quickly. The other garden item we have to deal with is this Ozito line trimmer, or weed whacker, or whippersnipper, depends what they're called in your area. Fairly cheap, again, a cheap hardware line, not particularly good quality, but it's pretty simple. It appears to be undamaged. They're fairly basic. I'm not sure if this is extendable or not. Oh, it is telescopic, so it doesn't go any longer than that. Assuming it works okay, I think we could probably get, say, $20 for this. Should sell fairly quickly. It's even still got some line on the spool, and it doesn't really need a clean up. It's not oily or anything. It looks undamaged. So let's plug it in and see if it works. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. That sounds perfectly fine. Quite a lot of power, actually. So 25 should be very achievable for a quick sale on this one. Doesn't even need a clean up, actually. It's quite presentable. So let's finish up this episode now with a quick look at the notepad. Episode 3 gives us quite a few things to sell with a potential return of 175. Should be very easily achievable. An hour and a half's work, mostly actually just cleaning up. Didn't take long to test things, didn't need to fix anything. Really just testing, making sure they're safe and giving them a good clean. Adding to the figures from the first 2 episodes gives us a total time 310 minutes. So 5 hours and 10 minutes and $445 potentially back without including the scrap. We'll get to that very shortly once we wind things up here. So I think we're over $80 an hour now, looking very good. So we'll wind this one up and we'll get on to the next one as soon as possible. So thanks for watching, guys. We're wading through this as quickly as we can. I'm glad I didn't do one big, like, 3-hour marathon. It does take time to go through this stuff. Certainly cleaning and making it presentable is fairly time consuming, but if you set up well in your workshop, it's not too bad, and it's worth the effort because it helps things sell much quicker. Also, of course, having the test and tag license, which is easy to get. Certainly in Australia, you can even do it online, and it's worth doing it. You don't have to be a shopkeeper to do it. And if you get a lot of e-waste and you want to save stuff from going to landfill and be able to resell it, it does make things a lot easier to sell because people buy with confidence that they're not going to get obviously electrocuted. It protects you as well. So thanks for watching. Next episode coming up shortly. We'll try and get through the rest of that pile for 2 reasons. I know you guys want to see the end results when we add up all the scrap prices as well and see how it all panned out. But also, I need my deck cleaned off. It's so cluttered. So I'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.